Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be going over my tier list for post Battle of the Legends Yu-Gi-Oh meta. Honestly, not that much changes, but I think it's cool to go over it, and I think some of the decks from the set are not that bad. Starting off, we have Primugi. I think this is probably the best deck, which is crazy to say because at the start of the format I was like, the best two decks are Rise of Mitsurugi and Malice. But now as the format has gone on, more people have like teched out their non-engine to deal with those decks, especially Rise of Mitsurugi. And when people are playing non-engine to deal with Rise of Mitsurugi, mainly the Charmies and Joel, it's kind of rough. I'll get into that more when I talk about the deck. But Pure Mitsurugi is really good against the Charmies, which is really nice. And overall, it's just a really strong deck, you know. Like the engine's really good going second. The M board, while not like an FDK, is good enough. And it has so much follow-up that you don't need to FDK your opponent. All you need to do is not die, and you're pretty much chilling, not gonna lie. Starting your turn 3 off with like a Wosu or just like a ritual spell, a prayers, a ritual monster, it just does a lot. So I think Pure Mitsurugi is a really solid pick. Next off, we have Mermo. I say Mermo's tier 2. Honestly, the deck, it still has a really good M board with like Barrier Statue, which most of these decks are not beating. In terms of Mermo versus hand traps, Joel is a good card versus the deck, so is Fua, but they're not like FDK cards against the deck. You could argue that Mermo is better against Joel and Fua than like Rise of Mitsurugi, which is kind of funny. Like Abyss Rhyme into like the Deep Seeking gives you like a lot of plays, which is pretty cool. Into Joel specifically. Mermo's really good going second, and yeah, I think Mermo's not bad. Live Twin Fenixmith, this deck is C tier. A lot of people are playing pseudo anti. A lot of Bystials are seeing play right now. Bystials are okay-ish against the deck if you know how to use them. I don't think they're good to hit like the initial live twin plays, but you know, hitting the Phoenix cards is not bad. Fua's really good against this deck, like crazy good. And I think this deck's engine is not great going second. Also, I think this deck's M board is not that great. It's good in the Malice, but if you're playing against a Mitsurugi deck, the M board is pretty lackluster. You don't, outside of like Caesar, so if they have a way to deal with the Caesar, then it's going to be a struggle. But deck's not bad. You can play a lot of non-engine with Q2. Next off, we have Blue Eyes. This deck is probably tier 3. Probably tier 3. We're in a Mulcharmy format, so Blue Eyes is kind of... I kind of want to put it in Rogue, I'm not going to lie. But we're in a Mulcharmy format, so Blue Eyes feels kind of weird. Number one, because this deck can't really play Mulcharmies, because you want your non-engine to be live going first, because your M board isn't that great. So you want to play like actual like cards to stop your opponent. Also going second, this deck's engine is not good at all, right? So if you Mulcharmy your opponent, they just end up like a detonator or something like that, your deck is just struggling. So Blue Eyes is in a weak spot right now. Like a lot of the hand traps and the way they want to play the game just isn't really a thing. So, but it's not completely unplayable, right? The deck is really good into the Mulcharmy cards, especially sometimes like. Sometimes if you get food, you can end on like 3 disruptions by giving your opponent like 0 draws. If you open like barrel plus like wishes as an example, right? So honestly, it has some good aspects, but I think it's lacking in a lot. Next off, we have Memento. Memento is kind of arguably a bit around the same level as Mermo. It's another combo deck. It's really good against. It's the best deck against the hand traps, 100%. That is undeniable. So it's like a similar pick to Mitsurugi, Pure Mitsurugi, where like it's really good against the Mulcharmies. And it's a lot better against Joel than Pure Mitsurugi. In terms of negatives, I think and why like I have it worse than Pure Mitsurugi. I think the engine going second is a lot worse into Malice than Pure Mitsurugi's is, which is a problem. Also, I think the deck is just less consistent. And depending on the format, the tournament you're playing, I think that can be a problem. But the deck's not bad. Pretty solid overall. Regenesis Kashtira. This deck is mid. I'm not going to talk about it. I'll go out of order. Heraldic Rizal, I'm gonna put in. Honestly, I'm gonna put in tier 2. I think it's better than some of these other decks. It's like when I first started testing the deck, I was under the impression that like all the Heraldic cards were terrible to draw, but that's just not true. Some Australian players like started playing like less ratios, less names. I think that was like a really good idea. Also, the spell Advanced Heraldic Art, like the Goki rematch, that card's actually just good to draw. Like I want to draw it, so I started playing like 3 of it in my deck. And that card honestly helps you a lot versus like Joel and Perulia, funnily enough. So this deck has like some plays under the Molcharmies that the other Rizio variants don't. So I think the deck is pretty decent. Obviously, like the Molcharmies and Joel are still like good against the deck. I mean, you won't open the advanced art every time, so that's going to be annoying. But the deck's honestly not that bad. Rizio Mitsurugi, I'm going to put this deck in tier 2 as well. Rizio Mitsurugi is... it feels weird to say it's not like tier 1, but I feel like it's just such a bad call right now. Everybody's playing Molcharmies, and the Molcharmies and Joel, like, not only do they limit your M board a lot, but the issue is that this deck doesn't play that much non-engine. So like when you go in this deck, you want to play Molcharmies in it. So when you go first and you get hit by a Molcharmie or like a Joel and Lockbird, not only is your M board extremely limited, but you don't have like non-engine to back you up. It feels like you just lose all of those games if your opponent opens decent. I think that's like a real problem with the deck. The engine's crazy going second, which is really nice, but I feel like while people are maining those cards, this deck just, it can't be that good. I'm not gonna lie, it can't be that great. It's too targeted right now. Pure Rizio, I'm going to put Pure Rizio about the tier 3 category. You can play more non-engine than some of the other Rizio variants, which is pretty great. Although there's not that much good non-engine to play right now, so I don't feel like that's a real advantage. And obviously, as a Rizio deck, you're going to still be weak to like Joel, still be weak to Perulia. Flawless is going to be decent against you. So I think that's a problem. It's arguably better against Fua than the Mitsurugi version, because you play like less engine, kind of. But yeah, but it's still like okay. The Fenixmith version, I'll put it around the same. A lot of people are playing Bestials right now to like beat the Mitsurugi cards. So obviously those are going to be good against the Fenixmith cards. And I feel like this deck doesn't have enough good starters as well. White Forest. This deck is like tier 3 or like Rogue in my opinion. I'm not a fan of White Forest. This deck is really good in Nafua. Like really good in Nafua. One of the best decks in Nafua in this entire list, which is actually crazy. However, I feel like it has too many other weaknesses. You know, Perulia, which while not FDK is like a good card against the deck. Joel, which is really good against the deck. And just fundamental weaknesses. Like the engine is just not good going second, like in my opinion. It's just worse than like most of these decks going second. Mitsurugi cards are better, Rizio cards are better, like the Mermo deck is better. I mean, it's better than Blue Eyes going second, sure, but that doesn't really mean much. Also, the deck plays a lot of bricky cards, a lot of dependent cards, a lot of low value cards, so White Forest is just kind of mid. The M board's really good though, but doesn't really matter because you're getting hit by a high impact hand trap, so you're not reaching the end board that often. Christian, I'm gonna put Christian top of tier 3 for right now. It's kind of a cool deck. Though like cards like Joel and Fua aren't terrible against the deck, but you kind of have like good, decent compromises against them often, which is really cool. The M board's not bad; it's pretty decent. In my opinion, the weaknesses of Christian are that number one, the Malice matchup I think is kind of rough. I haven't really tested. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't tested the matchup like that, but in theory, the matchup seems really rough. Also, I mostly played like Christian versus Mitsurugi. Also, Christian's kind of weird. I feel like the deck doesn't have enough good starters to it. Like the difference between your high quality starters and your low quality starters is really big. So that's why I only have it at like tier 3. But like the deck's not bad. It's pretty decent overall. Malice, I'm gonna put Malice at tier 2. Malice is seeing a little bit less targeted main deck hate. Less people are playing cards like Nib. You see Joel more in the main deck, which this deck is really getting into Joel, depending on the deck you're playing against. Sometimes Joel +1 can be nice, so like Joel limiting the end board, but overall it's still one of the better decks into Joel, which is pretty good. And while everybody's hating on Rizio right now, Malice is able to shine, which is nice. And yeah, it's just overall really solid deck. The end board's crazy. You beat like, I think Malice is better into the Molcharmies than regular Rizio 2. Obviously it's better into Perulia. I feel like it's compromises against what's it called, Fua are better as well, just because it's a lot easier to out a detonator than out like a Crypto MTP setup. So I like that as well. And Crypto MTP is just like better anyway. And yeah, Malice is nice. You can play Impulse, although I'm of the opinion that Impulse, while a good card, is one of the most overrated cards in the entire format. But Impulse is really good against pure Mitsurugi, so, and just Mitsurugi cards in general. And I have Mitsurugi very high, so it makes sense to put Malice also very high. Fenixmith, Primite, the deck is like probably around this level. I'm not going to lie. Bestial, they're seeing a lot of play. In general, it's kind of mid. I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about it. But then we have the Battles of Legends decks. So starting off, I'm gonna put Punk in tier 2. I think this deck is actually the best deck out of the set. I'm a big Punk fan. This deck is really nice. You can play like a solid amount of non-engine. This deck is really good into Perulia and Joel, in my opinion. The engine's really good going second. It has some weaknesses though. It's not good in the Fua. Activate Fua. Fua's pretty rough. Also, I think the end board against Ryzel cards is like really, really bad. I'm not gonna lie. Also, another weakness is that this deck wants to be like half your end board is like drawing like four cards, but like there aren't that many like great hand traps to draw into this format, so that kind of makes it feel a little bit eh. But I think outside of that, the deck is like, I think it's really strong. You could arguably put it top of tier 3. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm a little hype on it right now, but it's probably around there. But I think it's not bad. Next we have Dirac. This deck is so bad. Oh my god. Orcus, I'm gonna put next to Punk. I think Orcus is pretty solid right now. There are a couple of variants people are messing around with. You have the pure Orcus deck, Fenixmith, Millennium. You have Punk. You have Mitsurugi Orcus, which is terrible. I know I made a deck profile on it, but I don't think it's good. You have even more variants than that too. In terms of what I think the best variants are, it's probably like pure, and then after pure you have Fenixmith and Millennium. But that can play a lot of non-engine, which is really nice. And the cards individually are really, really strong. Hardcore Gearsy, they do a lot. It's really good into Joel and Perulia as well. However, again, it's really bad in the Fua, and the Malice matchup is really rough. Also, another issue with Orcus is that a lot of the targeted hate for Malice that's being played is really good against you. Lancia is really, really good against you. People are playing that card. So, you know, Bestials are seeing more play, which is not really great for you. They're not FDK, but they're really, really good against the deck, so I think those are reasons why Orcus isn't higher, but overall it's still a really solid deck. Nekroz, this deck is terrible. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. It kind of has like a bunch of it just doesn't do enough. Really, to do more, you have to like play bad. It plays a lot of iffy cards too. It's just eh. Gem Knight, I'm gonna put Gem Knight in Rogue. You have options to. The new cards are really good, right? The new main deck cards. The issue with Gem Knight is that the extra deck is like really, really bad. And it's really, really bad in the it's really bad, really bad in the Fula. It's not great until like Joel. Joel's not completely FTK, but Joel's a really good card against the deck. Against Perulia, it's like so-so. It's like Perulia, you're fine against Perulia, I guess. The engine's really bad going second too, though. So I think that's like a negative. You could arguably put it like bottom of tier 3, but in my opinion, it's like definitely worse than these decks. At least these, 100%. So I'm putting in Rogue. Dragon Maid, I'm gonna put in Rogue as well. Dragon Maid, the new card Fusion's good. It's like it plays so many normal summons, and they're all like starters, but they don't work well together. It's like you draw 2 starters, and it's like one starter gets stopped, your second starter doesn't do anything. I think all the main deck cards are just like too outdated in Dragon Maid, honestly. So yeah. Anywho, that was it. That was my tier list for post Battles of Legends. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe for more content.